Intro music.
Come on in.
A star for the ages for Tony Gwynn, number 3,000.
They have acquired Eric Johnson and Fernando Tatis Jr. from the White Sox in exchange for James Shield.
Welcome to San Diego.
My name is Joey.
My name is James.
That was a really sad. My name is Joey. We're going to start over. My name is Joey.
My name is James.
And this is the Brothers Padre.
And on this episode 69,
Nice.
which is appropriate because baseball has done us dirty, Joe.
Oh. Kids, ask your parents.
Or don't ask your parents. Wait till you're 18 and Google it.
No.
No, don't.
Oh, my goodness. Do not condone such behavior.
So, before we talk about how baseball has yet again questioned our loyalty,
Yeah.
what else do we have to talk about today, Joe?
We have a lot of Padres news.
We do.
A lot of Padres newswire information. Right before the lockout, which we'll be talking about, MLB Lockout, the Padres had a flurry of moves. A flurry. And we're going to go talk through them. We have 6 different things to talk about. That's
Okay.
crazy. For an off-season episode, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, none of them are very impactful, but let's go.
First one's first. This is in no particular order. We acquired another catcher, James.
Yeah, we did.
Jorge Alfaro was acquired for a player to be named later, and a bit of cash dollars. So we now have 3 catchers on our 40-man roster. And that raises questions like, for example, why do we have 3 catchers on our 40-man roster?
Well, I think because Nola can't seem to play 3 games without getting hurt.
Yeah.
And I think that's big. I think we might see Nola get moved. He might be a player to be named later on another trade.
He won't be a player to be named later. I think he might be attached to a player.
Yeah. To sweeten the pot.
Yeah. So, I mean, right now we have Victor Caratini,
Austin Nola.
Jorge Alfaro, and we have Luis Camposano in AAA.
And everyone keeps saying he's our franchise catcher. Is this just... Are they?
But he's still super young. He's 22.
Yeah, no, I'm saying...
For a catcher is pretty young.
Like I said, it's pretty much saying he's not ready yet.
Right. Dude mashes in AAA, but he can still... I mean, we saw him play in the majors a little bit. There's some things a little rough around the edges.
Absolutely.
But hit the ball a ton when he makes contact. I think this is a sign of shifting. I think we're going to see one of the catchers be gone. Right?
I think so too.
Right. We don't carry 3 major league catchers. I don't see that, especially if we have Camposano. Like, that makes no sense. Like, if we need to develop Camposano, he's going to develop, and we're just going to drop. We're going to trade away Victor Caratini, Nola, or Alfaro. I think also Alfaro has a decent arm, which neither of our catchers do. Like, Victor Caratini didn't throw that many people out, and nor did Austin Nola. Like, Webster Rivas had a better arm than both those guys.
Webster Rivas also could call a better game than both those guys.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Victor Caratini could call a great game.
Yes.
He did not deter the running game whatsoever, and they kept on saying Austin Nola has a stronger arm when he's 100% healthy. I've never seen a 100% healthy Austin Nola.
Yeah. And I think catching's a weird one because, like, they could call a good game, but then the pitchers could still miss their targets. Like,
Exactly.
like, but in that same vein, James, we hired a new catching coach. Rod Barajas is no longer our catching coach. Former Pittsburgh Pirates catching legend Rod Barajas. And so we're like, no, we need another Pittsburgh Pirate catching legend, Francisco Cervelli. Cervelli. How can I say Cervelli? That's it. I'm like, that's not right. Francisco Cervelli. Legendary catcher. It's very surprising. And actually was influential in the Jorge Alfaro deal. He said that Jorge Alfaro has great potential and can even be better. And so now we have him as a catching coach.
I'm okay with that. I can't remember a single time in all of my years watching
Pirates baseball?
watching baseball in general, people have laid anything on the feet of the catching coach's problems.
You never. I mean, what is interesting is like, I do think it's like we have horrible offensive output from that position. Obviously, catching does not have a good league wide does not produce a lot of good hitters. So we can't have good catchers. We can't have a catcher that's like bad at throwing and bad at game calling and bad at hitting.
Yeah, that was the thing. What people put up with Mike Piazza,
Right?
couldn't throw out a two-legged horse, but he could hit the heck out of a ball.
Hey, 30, 40 home runs a year. Hey, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. Here you go.
And the fact that he was never like, it always blows my mind when there's a good hitting catcher. Like, play a different position.
Yeah. I'd be interested. I don't really know what that means from a fan perspective. Probably means nothing, but it goes with we've talked a little bit about this, about what is really going to happen with the coaching staff. And I think we're seeing it. They really have revamped everything. Like there's,
from top to bottom, a bunch of new coaches. We have a new pitching coach. We have a new pitching coordinator. We have new pitching coaching staff. We have a new hitting coach. We have new hitting coach staff, and we're getting a bunch of new things put in place. So yeah, it's going to be, it's interesting.
How do you feel that the hitting coach is younger than both of us? Which is not uncommon in baseball for players to be younger than you and I, James. Our undisclosed ages. But this guy's like 6 years younger than I am, and he's a hitting coach. He is old. He's younger than like I think half the Padres players.
If the Padres don't hit these funky August slumps and our guys can be productive the entire season,
who cares?
He could be the age of our 13-year-old nephew. I don't care, as long as he does a good job.
I agree. Yeah,
but it is pretty weird to realize that there's a coach. I mean, I'm older than you are, but I was happy the knowledge of knowing that there are no big league managers my age.
No.
They were all older than me. But okay.
Yeah, not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah, so I think they really have redone I mean, there's not a big league position that's been like held over, right? There's not really everyone's getting replaced. I mean, 2 days ago announced that the bench coach will be the bench coach of the A's is now going to be our new bench coach. Like, everyone's changing. And so, I mean, in some ways, it's like they really are committing to the fact that like there is a systemic problem.
Yeah, they're committed to the fact that they revamped our entire player roster the last couple of years. Now they're revamping the entire coaching staff and behind the scenes.
Right.
Which means they listen to our podcast.
I mean, obviously. I mean, that's just at this point, it's offensive that we're not given free season tickets, right? Like, at this point,
I agree. Like, at least one opening day skybox,
Yeah, I think it's kind of like being the brain trust, but never given the accolades. Like, it's like a little offensive.
This is it. You know what?
It's almost hurtful, Padres.
Yeah, it
almost
really is
hurtful.
But luckily, we're bigger men.
Speaking of big men, we non-tendered Trey Wigginter, so he's no longer at Padre anymore.
And for those of you who don't know who Trey Wigginter is, that's okay because nobody does.
Hey, he has long, beautiful blonde hair like me. He's 6'7" like me.
Is that what you tell your wife? You're 6'7"?
Yeah. Yeah, so we non-tendered him. So during this time, you have to you have to declare your 40-man roster and just say, here's the people that we can absolutely protect to be in our team next year. And that's across minor leagues and major leagues. And there really wasn't a spot for Trey Wingenter. He was out of options. It just, we did not give him a contract.
His contract expired. We weren't going to extend it. We're not going to keep him on a 40-man roster. So he's free to pursue other options.
Yep.
Like the NBA.
Or another team can pick him up easily.
The NBA.
Yeah. He's very tall. Emilio Pagan got a contract. We did not opt him out of our 40-man. We signed him for a $2.3 million deal. And I think a lot of people thought we were going to drop him. And I if you'd asked me August of last year, I'd be like, yeah, we should drop him now. Dude's throwing bowling balls, throwing beach balls. You might as well throw in softballs. Here you go. Here you go. Every player in the league hit home runs off me. It's fine.
I think this might be our new pitching coach's doing, because it was abundantly clear that we overused our pitching staff.
Yeah.
The beginning of the season, remember we nicknamed him the Pagan Ways?
Yeah.
He was insane at the beginning of the season. He was unhittable. But he cleared, and by the end of the season, his slider didn't slide. His fastball didn't have any movement. He was beat. And I think that was on the Padres mishandling him. And because we also signed a bunch of new guys for our bullpen. I think we're revamping our bullpen, and I hope maybe this new pitching coach and Bob Melvin will have a different game plan.
Yep. So you mentioned re-signing people. Obviously talked about Ray Kerr last time. He came over from Adam Frazier deal. And he's expected to be major league ready, big power lefty. That's one bit. We signed a Luis Garcia for 2 years for $7 million. He's revamped his game as a Cardinal and just like throws power sinkers now, and dude is very good, but kind of unproven. So he just has recent success now, and so that's why it was such a cheap deal. It wasn't. I mean, he's had like one good season, but if that season continues, sure, why not? That's a very cheap deal, $7 million, 2 years.
And he was lights out in Japan.
No, you're talking about this. That's the second guy. Luis Garcia. Luis Garcia is the Cardinal. Very,
all right,
very good.
You're right. I can read. I'm not like I didn't reverse the notes.
No. But secondly, we have Nick Martinez, who was sub 2 ERA in Japan, pitched a bunch of innings, was a starter over there and long reliever. Signed him for a 4-year, $20 million deal. Kind of a gamble pick because, the translation from any foreign league to Major League Baseball is not 1-to-1. There are certain outliers. I don't need to mention them. Ichiro and Ohtani, I'll mention them. And Hideki Matsui. Like, there are good players, but it doesn't mean he's going to be sub 2 ERA when he comes over here. Probably not. But he can be effective. Pierce Johnson's effective. He's the same career path as Nick Martinez. And definitely was, I think, a long relief starter option. Another one. So yeah, we didn't sign big people. We didn't go after and get Corey Seager. We didn't get Robbie Ray. Big free agents that signed. We went after revamp our bullpen. And the thing about this deal is it may not be complete because we're going to talk about next, the lockout. It was not finalized before the lockout, so technically he's free to pursue other non-MLB contracts. So if any of the Japanese baseball leagues or Korean baseball leagues want to sign him, they now can. Or he can wait till the lockout is over, and I'm sure the Padres will just finish the contract and move on.
Yeah.
You want to talk about some free agents before we talk about lockout? I'm just not looking forward to the lockout talk, to be honest.
So let me summarize the lockout.
Yeah.
For all you boys and girls out there.
Yeah.
Basically, a bunch of billionaires and a bunch of millionaires are arguing about money.
Mm-hmm.
And what irks me about the lockout is in the world that we're currently living in, where people are trying to survive, lockouts and lockdowns and COVID restrictions and all this stuff, and people losing jobs. And the one thing that it showed by the amount of tickets sold, people were excited about baseball again. For them not to be able to reach an agreement is kind of a slap in the face. And if they delay baseball, the start of baseball this next season, I think you're going to kill a lot of fans because it's ridiculous.
I don't think it's going to. So just a little bit, if you're not familiar with this, the Major League Baseball Players Association, one of the most powerful unions in all the world. I don't think it's hyperbole.
Well, when every member of your union is a millionaire.
That's not true. You're part of the union. Like Webster Rivas is part of the union, but he's not a millionaire. There are people that are journeymen that are round 35ers. They get one cup of coffee in the majors, and they're part of it, but they're not millionaires. There are a lot of people that don't have the same level of financial interest, and I'm not saying you're wrong.
80% of your members are millionaires.
What I'm trying to say is this is this huge union, very powerful. Used to be that Major League Baseball players were paid nothing. People had to work winter jobs in order to facilitate this. Eventually, this guy named Kurt Flood did a bunch of great work on hey, maybe you're making all of us money in an entertainment franchise. Maybe we should get paid more. And he was blackballed. And eventually, that formed a more powerful union of the players, and they have a great union now, right? Yay! But now we have this issue where they have this argument. They have this clause where every few years they redo the collective bargaining agreement. And what happens is if they don't agree upon the new one, the MLB owners are allowed to lock out players from being their employees. This wasn't always the case. They don't have to do this. In '93, they chose not to do this, and they just said part of their agreement is if they don't come to an agreement, they just keep doing the old agreement until they get a new one. The issue is that strikes happen. So that's what happened in '94, and then that killed the sport effectively. And then Bud Selig gave steroids out, and then it was great again.
That's what, yeah, pretty much what happened.
So,
the way I remember it.
So that's where we're at now, where the owners lock out the players and say, hey, we need to get an agreement. And according to reports, the differences are not so in '94, it was substantial differences. In '80s, it was we need to have food. And now they're maybe you guys should spend $60 million as a base, and there'd be a higher cap, and there's 2 divisions. I know that's all substantial things, but it really isn't substantial. It really isn't the players are not asking for that much of the ownership. And the ownership's oh, this is crazy. It's not that crazy.
I think the big sticking point is the amount of money that the players want if they're good, the reward system that they want.
Right. Yeah, so no one knows what's going to be, because there's different reports where the players are hey, if you're good younger, early in your career, you should be rewarded. Because you have people like Jake Cronenworth, right? He's not going to be free agent until he's 34. Is he going to be good that long? Is he going to have a good payday at that point? Who knows? He'll make league minimum for another 4 years. And is that fair? 3 years. Is that fair? I don't know. I think probably not, because you want to be, the goal of a union is to make your members more money, right? That's just the goal of the union. And I think MLB is playing this. Rob Manfred is literally was given the job because he was great at negotiating with the union and being the kind of person he is. That's why he has the job. And so they're going to play this game where it's like, it's offensive to pay free agents early or whatever. And it's going to be lots of like public, like clutching a pearl and like, oh my God, this is the worst thing. But it's not, I think historically, it's like we're just talking about like when people get traded and when people get paid. And if the Pittsburgh Pirates can spend more than $5 on their team, like that's basically what we're talking about. As an aside, I think if you own a baseball team and you're that poor, you shouldn't own a baseball team.
There are plenty of hockey teams you could own.
Literally, and there's 2 hockey teams in Pennsylvania. Buy one of them, right? Like we just talked about before the podcast, Max Scherzer got this huge deal from the Mets. He didn't pay $40 million a year for 3 years, so it's $120 million.
$45 million a year.
Oh, that's right. It's $150 million. I forgot the deal.
It's ridiculous.
A lot of money. And we're like, oh yeah, like 1 year of that is more than the Pirates are paying for their entire team, and that's stupid.
That is very stupid.
The Pittsburgh Pirates fans deserve at least a payroll 50% more, to not double that, right? They make plenty of money. PNC Park is a multi-billion-dollar like investment in that city. It's one of the prettiest parks in all the nation. They have the money, and so like the players being like, "Hey, we have to incentivize competition." Like, that's not the same thing as being like, "Hey, we literally can't like eat during the week," which used to be the old union negotiations. We're like, "Can we just get food in our airplanes?"
That's why I said it's rich people arguing with richer people.
Yeah, I think it's like I don't have tons of sympathies for owners who'd be like, we can't spend the money. Like, yeah, you can, but also on the player side, you're like, I think what's troublesome to me is like I would prefer if union members were made up of people that weren't like Max Scherzer is like a head union person. He's already earned $500 million in his life. Yeah. Is he the guy that's gonna convey the needs of the union? You know what I mean? You should have someone like Webster Rivas. Like, I've played 7 games in the major leagues. Like,
exactly. He spent 11 years in the minors. Yeah.
I don't know. I think all of it's kind of, I'm just like not, I went on a diatribe there, but I'm just not like, I don't think it's going to delay the season because we're not really talking about that big of differences. I don't think.
And the thing is, it's kind of hard to talk about because they aren't telling us what the sticking points are.
Right.
And so it's really not worth talking about until after it's over.
And also it's like, it's such a nothing burger because the lockout happening now sucks, but owners are like, it's December anyway. We're not working. It's such like a easy time to have a lot. I don't know. It just seems so lazy.
Yeah.
Of course you'd pick a month to not do anything in December. Like, of course it's the month you're like, oh, we'll figure out the new year.
True. Very true.
And I don't know. I there's just too much money for them not to have a season.
And like I said, if it's just this nitty gritty thing, and it better not delay the season. It better not delay the season.
I don't think it will. I mean, I like some of the player proposals that's been leaked. So one of them, and we'll talk about this a little bit, then we can move on. But the players are saying if they want expanded playoffs, which owners are wanting expanded playoffs, the players suggested a 12-person playoff.
12-team playoff.
12-team 12-person playoff. It's a radically different game.
It's like,
wait,
all of a sudden we're playing over the line in the playoffs.
Wait, it changes sports in the playoffs? Yeah, it's very weird. And only 2 divisions in each league. So you have, 3.
So 2 divisions in each league. I mean, I get the fact that it will increase competition because we won't play the Dodgers and the Giants 19 times.
I think it'd be fun. I like that aspect of it a lot.
2 leagues in each division. I just don't know how that would look like. It just seems like, so what, the Cubs are going to be back in our division like they were in the 80s?
The Midwest teams hate this idea.
Of course they do.
Imagine being a Pittsburgh team. Like, what are we? Yeah. Chicago, Milwaukee, Cleveland, they hate this idea.
Well, imagine having to live in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Now you have to play a lot of your games on the West Coast, which is obviously better than where you're living.
I mean, it's a lot more traveling, but I don't know. I kind of like the idea.
And the idea is the 12 teams in the playoffs, the top 6 teams in each division go to the playoffs.
Yep. Was it the players, the owners had the idea that the top seed picks their opponent? I think that's super fun. It's a fun idea.
It is a fun idea.
Because the first time it happens, you're just going to lose to the team you pick.
Yeah.
Because baseball's a cruel, cruel sport.
It would be great. The Mets pay all that money for Scherzer. They're the best team in baseball, and they pick, let's say the Pirates. The Pirates just trounce them.
That'd be awful. I mean, awesome. That's awesome. I would love that. I'd love that. But that's to me, it's like so. They're gonna figure it out. There's so much money being spent. Owners are making tons of money. Players are gonna make money. If it's just really about like how early someone gets paid and the salary minimum or the maximum, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll keep you apprised because it's really hard to report when everything's locked out and you can't. Everything's quiet.
During this time, there's been no Padres dues because Padres can't sign anybody. We can't do anything. So.
But before the lockdown, there was that flurry craze. Everybody signing everybody else.
Yeah, of course. I mean, every single the top 5 free agents got signed. Seager, I guess Correa isn't not signed, I guess. But Corey Seager, Max Scherzer, Marcus Semien.
So my
Robbie
question
Wright.
is for you, Joe.
Yeah, I'm ready.
At all of the top players available left,
Yep.
which 2 would be your dream that the Padres would sign?
Well, if Freddie Freeman's available and we lose a catcher getting rid of Hosmer, Freddie Freeman. But that's a very orchestrated deal. I'm gonna try to be realistic with this. I think Nick Castellanos is one of them. Yeah, and I think I'd probably say a pitcher still. I mean, if money's no object. We did talk about this, but part of me would like to see Clayton Kershaw as a Padre.
It would be kind of great. Yes, it would.
I know it's caused a visceral reaction to people, but if it's 1 year deal, sure. Why not? I think it's not like a prudent move, but who are the better free agent starting pitchers available? Right, Robbie Ray got signed, Max Scherzer got signed,
the last
Stroman
2,
got signed.
Stroman got signed. Marcus Stroman.
Cubs.
That's right. The last good pitcher still available is Rendon.
Oh, Carlos Rodon.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like one of those guys, like he was good for like a year and a half, and you're like, is he gonna be good? Yeah, Castellanos and Kershaw, which in my silly fantasy world, yeah. Somehow that's the realistic pick. I don't know. What about you?
I would go with Rendon.
Rodon.
Sorry.
Anthony Rendon's the third baseman for the Angels.
Carlos Rendon is the pitcher.
Yeah.
The other guy that I would pick would be Kyle Schwarber. Because, first of all, if we got Nick Castellanos,
yeah,
I would do a backflip. I think that'd be phenomenal. But we have plenty of right-handed power bats.
Mm-hmm.
if we got a legitimate left-handed power bat, I think that'd make our lineup really tight.
Yeah.
If we could have both Cronenworth and Schwarber in the same lineup every day.
I mean, there's a possibility next year that we have Abrams, Cronenworth, and Trent Grisham actively in lineups.
Yes. If Abrams can learn to play the outfield.
Not that hard, Scott. Tell him, Wash.
It's incredibly hard, like most endeavors are, to complete the Moneyball quote. Is that your favorite scene in that movie?
Oh, I love it. I use it. I must use that line in my work once a month, if not twice a month. Every time it's like something difficult happens, I'm like, it's not that hard, Scott. Like, what are you referencing? Like, a movie from 20 years ago, but
You forced all of your employees to watch Moneyball, and it came out 2013, so not quite
I guess
20.
the story was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I love that quote. I send that clip all the time.
I've received it from you multiple times.
Yeah, I like that. I like Kyle Schwarber's nice first base, outfield option, DH option, power lefty, obviously. Dude was was on fire last year.
And we can and ideally we could keep Schwarber and Hosmer the same lineup, because Schwarber can play first base and the outfield. Plus, if we get the DH, and it will give us more DH options. I don't want that to happen, but I would. It could.
I just, man.
Enough ink has been spilt about Eric Hosmer.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm just ready for, like, the Padres opening day roster has to be so incredible, has to, like, take my breath away. That's what I realized. I just have to be like, whoa, like, and it just won't take my breath away if Eric Hosmer's in it. And and listen, people change, people get better. But I've been watching this guy for I don't know how many years. It seems like 3,000. He's just not getting better, dude.
No, he's not. Yeah, you want to look at the Padre lineup and hear music.
Yeah.
Like that a power ballad from Leanne Rimes in the background, you know?
Of all power ballad people, you picked probably the least power ballad person.
I know. That's why I did it.
Yeah. Whatever. God.
Because the Padres were all about value.
Yeah, that's right. It's all about value.
That's a Bare Naked Ladies quote.
Yeah, you've dated your musical taste with those two artists. People know the exact 5-6 years that you were into music
In high school, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. This episode hasn't seemed as much fun.
Yeah. James, yeah. I mean, we'll kind of see. Well, I mean, lockout stuff could take a month or two, or it could take a week.
Hey, but you know what? Next week we're going to have a really fun episode.
That's yeah. Well, some of us will have fun because I've hated it so far, and it will reveal when you listen to next week's episode. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. Thanks for all your love on YouTube. Thank you for subscribing to us. Thank you for listening to us on Spotify. We're on every single podcast app. And yeah, we're on Twitter at Brothers Padres. At Brothers Padre. I said that 1,000 times.
69 times.
Technically. I messed
Well,
it up.
70 including our first
That's
demo.
right, podcast 0.
Yeah.
It was technically episode 70, but podcast zeros are cool.
That is true.
But until next time, James, go Padres.
Go Padres.
And there it is! Oh, doctor! You can hang a star on that, baby!